For years, an unspoken agreement has shaped the lives of those who arrive in the United Kingdom to work, contribute, and build a future. The understanding was clear: follow the rules, remain productive for 5 years, pay your taxes, and in return, you'd earn the right to stay permanently. This right is known as Indefinite Leave to Remain, or ILR. For many, it has represented the foundation of a new beginning, a milestone to strive toward. But now, that long-standing promise appears to be in jeopardy. In 2025, the UK is on the brink of a major immigration overhaul, one that could redefine who is allowed to stay and under what conditions. This isn't merely a debate over salary bands or rising visa costs. What's emerging is a deeper, more ideological shift, one that challenges the very notion of integration and belonging. At the center of this new direction is a key political figure whose views are shaping the future of British immigration policy. Kem Baddock, known for her uncompromising stance, she presents a vision that is stirring both attention and controversy. If someone arrives from Nigeria and tries to recreate a mini Nigeria here in Britain, that's not acceptable, she said. Recently, most countries wouldn't tolerate that kind of cultural replication, and Nigerians certainly wouldn't either. She went on to highlight the disparities in global immigration systems, pointing out how difficult it is to gain Nigerian citizenship, especially for women. I was born with Nigerian citizenship through my parents, but as a woman, I can't pass it on to my children. Meanwhile, many Nigerians can come to the UK, spend a short time here, and secure British citizenship. We need to stop being naive about that. Under her leadership, immigration policy is undergoing a dramatic tightening. Citizenship will no longer be easily granted through what she describes as a conveyor belt system. The focus is shifting toward ensuring that new arrivals are economic contributors, not dependents. We want people who will add value, who won't arrive and immediately rely on welfare or social housing, she stated. That's simply not fair to those who've paid into the system. She argues the previous policies may have worked in a different era, before mass global mobility, before smartphones made international movement easier, and certainly before the surge in small boat crossings across the channel. But now, she believes the world has changed. Today, we're facing an era of unprecedented global migration. It's destabilizing, and we need policies that reflect the reality we live in, not the world as it was. As these sweeping changes take root, the very framework of UK immigration is being redrawn. For those hoping to build a life in Britain, the path forward is shifting, and it may soon look very different from the one promised for decades. Her words have redrawn the contours of the immigration debate, and the impact is reverberating through every migrant community across the United Kingdom. This is no longer just about tweaking the rules. It's about redefining what it truly means to become British. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss critical updates affecting your life in the UK. Let's dive into what's shaping up to be one of the most significant shifts in immigration policy in recent memory. To grasp the magnitude of this moment, we must first understand the person driving it. Kemi Badnoch, a prominent conservative figure and a key contender in the race to lead her party. She's not just another name in Westminster. Born in Britain to Nigerian parents and having spent part of her childhood in Nigeria, she brings a deeply personal and, for many, controversial perspective to the immigration conversation. In a recent high-profile interview, she didn't just address the numbers. She turned the spotlight onto culture, values, and what she describes as a dangerous complacency in Britain's approach to immigration. Many Nigerians come to the UK, stay for a short while, and secure British citizenship, she remarked. We need to stop being naive. That's why, under my leadership, we've introduced policies to make citizenship harder to obtain. It's been too easy. Let's stop on that statement. It's been too easy. For anyone who has gone through the UK immigration system, that phrase can feel detached from reality. Ask those who've spent half a decade on a work visa, paid thousands in fees, navigated repeated renewals, passed language tests, and cleared the exhaustive life in the UK exam, and they'll tell you it's anything but easy. Yet Badnock isn't suggesting the system is simple in practical terms. What she's signaling is a deeper, more ideological transformation. The question is no longer just whether someone can financially support themselves, it's whether they reflect the right values to be considered part of British society. This shift has direct implications for indefinite leave to remain, commonly known as ILR. ILR is the bridge to citizenship. And if you change the requirements for ILR, you change the entire route to becoming British. So what might this tougher ILR process look like in 2025? Based on recent statements, the coming changes could affect multiple parts of the current system. First, the length of residency may be re-evaluated. The traditional 5-year route to settlement could be scrapped. Instead, applicants may be required to live and work in the UK for 8, possibly even 10 years before being eligible to apply for permanent residency. That would mean staying in a state of uncertainty, paying elevated visa fees, and facing limitations on long-term planning and stability. Second, the good character requirement is expected to become far more stringent. At present, this mainly screens for serious criminal offenses, but in the new framework, the definition could expand to include behavior, cultural integration, or even online conduct, creating a more subjective and possibly controversial hurdle for applicants. What's unfolding isn't just a policy revision, it's a philosophical overhaul of the UK's approach to immigration, a deliberate recalibration of who gets to stay and under what terms. As the UK prepares for this seismic transformation, immigrants across the country are watching closely because the very meaning of citizenship is being rewritten before their eyes. Her remarks have redefined the rules of the immigration debate, and the implications are rippling through every migrant community across the country. This isn't just another policy update. What's on the table now is a bold reimagining of what it means to become British. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell icon for vital updates about your status, rights, and future in the UK. Now, let's unpack what's really happening. To understand the scale of this shift, we must look closely at its architect, Kemi Badnock. A senior conservative figure and a prominent contender for party leadership, she is far from an ordinary voice in British politics. Born in the UK to Nigerian parents and having spent part of her childhood in Nigeria, her position on immigration carries a distinct tang, for many a deeply unsettling weight. In a recent and widely discussed interview, Badnock moved the conversation beyond data and statistics. She spoke about culture, values, and what she described as widespread complacency in Britain's immigration approach. Reflecting on arrivals from her country of heritage, she stated, "Many Nigerians come to the UK, remain for a relatively short period, and gain British citizenship. We've been too naive. That's why, under my leadership, we've introduced measures to make citizenship more difficult to obtain. It's been far too easy." Let's stop and reflect on that phrase. It's been too easy. Anyone who has endured the UK immigration process, spending 5 years on a skilled visa, navigating rising visa fees, paying thousands in healthcare surcharges and legal support, studying for and passing the life in the UK test, would argue the opposite. It's a lengthy, expensive, and emotionally exhausting experience, but Badnock isn't claiming the logistics are simple. She's introducing a different principle altogether. This is no longer just about economic self-sufficiency, it's about values. The real question now being asked is, are you the kind of person who fits into our national identity? This is where the conversation turns to indefinite leave to remain. ILR, often viewed as the final major step before citizenship, ILR has historically represented stability and belonging. But if the government tightens access to ILR, it alters the very foundation of who gets to stay and who gets to become British. So, what might a tougher ILR system in 2025 actually involve? Judging by recent statements and tone, we may see several key changes. First, the current 5-year residency path could be scrapped or extended. A future model could require applicants to live and work in the UK for 8 or even 10 years before qualifying for ILR. This would leave thousands in extended legal limbo, still subject to high visa costs, unable to settle permanently, and constantly facing uncertainty. Second, the good character requirement may be expanded and potentially politicized. At present, it primarily screens for serious criminal offenses, but Badnoch's emphasis on those abusing the system suggests a broader definition is coming. In this new framework, even minor legal or civic issues like a traffic offense, a tax dispute, or involvement in a peaceful protest could be used to justify denial. This sets up an environment where immigrants must maintain an almost flawless record for years under far more scrutiny than the average citizen. At its core, what's being proposed is not just procedural reform, it's a philosophical shift, a recalibration of national identity and belonging, and it's poised to reshape the future of immigration in the UK. As this debate unfolds, one thing is clear: the path to British citizenship is no longer just a matter of time and compliance. It may soon become a test of values, conduct, and ideology. The standards being proposed are so exacting, they might exclude even many British-born citizens. But the most striking and perhaps divisive element of this evolving immigration debate lies in Kemi Badnoch's recent remarks about culture and integration. When asked whether she would support Nigerian immigrants recreating a mini Nigeria within the UK, her answer was firm and unequivocal. "That's not acceptable," she said. "Nigerians themselves wouldn't tolerate it, and neither would many other countries." She went on to argue that some behaviors carried out by migrants in Britain would never be acceptable in their own nations. These comments mark a direct challenge to the multicultural framework that has shaped British identity for decades. For over half a century, the UK has prided itself on being a place where immigrant communities could establish roots, build cultural hubs, and still be part of a unified society, contributing not only economically, but culturally. Now, that very foundation is being called into question. So, how could this cultural critique be translated into immigration policy? What we may see is the introduction of far more stringent and potentially intrusive measures of integration. Instead of the current life in the UK test focused on historical trivia and national symbols, future applicants could face deeper assessments. These could include analysis of their social networks, their participation in local communities, or even their political expressions, all to determine whether they are sufficiently integrated. The danger here lies in the ambiguity. Who decides what counts as proper integration? These criteria could open the door to unchecked bias, where personal values or lifestyle choices become grounds for rejection. It paints a picture of a future where simply living in Britain isn't enough. You must live a government-approved version of the British experience. What's emerging is not a policy tweak, but a dramatic rewrite of the social contract. Traditionally, the path to settlement was transactional: contribute to the economy, pay your dues, and you earn the right to stay. The new vision is far more ideological: conform to a specific cultural mold or risk exclusion, no matter how much you've contributed. This ideology is no longer theoretical. It is actively shaping discussions at the highest levels of government. And it presents a vision of Britain that's not a vibrant blend of cultures, but a tightly controlled mold into which newcomers are expected to fit for hundreds of thousands. Already on the 5-year journey toward indefinite leave to remain, this shift poses a real threat. By the time they reach the end of that path, the rules may have changed entirely. This means uncertainty for skilled professionals: doctors, engineers, researchers, artists who came to the UK in good faith. It's a profound betrayal of expectations. The broader consequence, a potential brain drain. If the UK becomes a place of cultural rigidity and unpredictable rules, why would the world's most talented people choose to come here? Countries like Canada, Australia, and the United States, despite their own challenges, still offer clearer, more consistent routes to permanent residency. And increasingly, that stability is what global talent values most. The immigration overhaul of 2025, rooted in this new ideological shift, is not just a bureaucratic adjustment. It's a philosophical battle over Britain's identity. Will the UK remain a confident, inclusive, multicultural nation? Or is it transforming into a closed society, one that sees immigrants not as partners in its success, but as threats to be controlled? Kimi Badnock has drawn a sharp line in the sand. And for those who believe in a global, diverse, and open Britain, the challenge is clear. The future is up for debate, and for many, the fight begins now. So, what's your view? Is it reasonable to tighten the path to settlement, and where do we draw the line between meaningful integration and forced assimilation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This isn't just political theory, it's a conversation that affects all of us.